Get in, loser. We're going time traveling. I know. I came and picked you up in this janky DeLorean, but trust me on this. Just get in the car and fasten your seatbelt because we're going to hit 88 miles per hour. Are you buckled in? All right, let's go. Wait, what the hell? Oh my god. It's the flux capacitor. It's not working again. Hold on 1 second. Hello, Doc? It's the flux capacitor. It's not working again. But, oh my god. Okay, whatever. Go flux yourself. All right, we're going to use another reference from the 1980s. Picture it. Your hometown. You at 13 years old. It's lunchtime and you're in the cafeteria at school. Where are you sitting? Are you at the table with the popular kids? Are you with the nerds? Are you with the band kids? Where do you fit? Where do you fit in the social hierarchy of your school? And what does your friend group look like? Do you even like your friends? Or are you just part of this group because you feel like you have to be to guarantee your own social survival? And most importantly, do you have a unibrow like I did when I was 13? How did you act in your friend group? Was it different than the way you acted with one person or with your best friend? Did you have a best friend? Did you gossip about your other friends to your best friend? Or did you gossip about your best friend to your other best friend? How about pretending? Did you pretend to like or to dislike certain things so that you would seem cool and be accepted by the other girls? Did you give into peer pressure, like smoking weed and skipping class and shoplifting? And what about your crush? Who was your crush? Did you tell anybody that you had a crush on this guy? And were they able to keep that secret, or did they blab and embarrass you? Or did somebody ever come to you and tell you about their crush? Did you betray them and tell other people even though you promised that you wouldn't? Listen, I'm going to take a wild guess and assume that you did a lot of things that you didn't want to do and that didn't feel true to you so that you could be accepted into your friend group. Underlying all of these actions and these behaviors was the need to be liked, but not a genuine sense of being liked. It was being liked enough to be part of a group and to not threaten the status quo. And more than anything, it was being liked enough to ensure your own social survival in this hellhole that is middle school and high school. Because at the end of the day, your popularity or lack thereof was regulated by other people. It was never yours to begin with. Welcome all bad bitches to Law 24. Can you believe we're at Law 24 already? Like, this is actually crazy. Part of me can believe it because I'm like, obviously, like, I knew what I was doing when I started this. But another part of me is like, oh my God, like, we're at Law 24. I remember getting to Law 10 and being excited about that because it was double digits. And now we're at Law 24. Like, we're almost at my age, which is 27. Am I going to do something special for that? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, welcome, all bad bitches, to the baddest bitch in the building. I am your host, Nikki. I am the baddest bitch in the building, not to be confused with you, who is also the baddest bitch in the building. I don't feel like doing my intro today. I remember to do it, but I don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. But what I will do is remind all of you that I am dropping a bonus episode, a public bonus episode sometime this month. I'm not going to tell you when. It's going to be a Q&A between Barbie and Ken. So Ken is going to ask me questions, some of which are questions that were submitted by you baddies in one of my stories, and other questions that he's added in himself. And it's going to be a fun little way just to, get to see another side of my personality, because every week I come on here and I talk to a camera. So you only get to see so much. But, you know what it's like when I'm talking to somebody else, like another part of you comes out, right? And like you've seen that with my guest episodes, but my guests are not people who are my friends, except for Talia, but she became my friend through us doing episodes together. My guests are basically strangers to me, right? So you only get to see so much of me come out, but it's going to be really fun. I'm super excited. I'm not going to tell you when it's going to drop. You're just going to see it one day. So keep your eyes out for that. And if you want slightly more, well, not slightly, severely more unhinged episodes, I have monthly bonus episodes on my Patreon. And the first one that dropped is about the drama that went on really early on when I started this podcast and I had a co-host, and our co-hostship basically went up in flames and did not make it past the first episode. And yeah, it's a whole drama. And I feel like, you've been with me through 24 Laws and other episodes, and you should know a little bit about the origin story of how I gave birth to this podcast. So check that out on Patreon. As a member, you're also going to unlock access to my close friend story on Instagram. So you're going to see lots of behind the scenes footage. You're going to be able to vote in polls on topics for my girly laws, which I have not allowed people to vote on. And if you want to be part of a community of other bad bitches and do monthly challenges of implementing a patriarchy hack in your life and hearing how other people are doing it, then that option is available as well. I made 2 separate tiers. One of them includes the close friends access, the voting power, and the monthly bonus episodes. The other tier includes all of that plus access into the private community. So you can choose whichever one you want. All right, let's go back to our 13-year-old selves. The reason I wanted to visit that point of our lives is because we are socialized from a young age to think of being liked as a currency. If you saw my Instagram story earlier this week, I read like 8 different books for this episode, and one of them was a parenting book. It's called Queen Bees and Wannabes, which, fun fact, is the book that Tina Fey read and was inspired to create Mean Girls. So that book is actually the reason that the movie Mean Girls exists. And after reading that book, I watched the movie again last week, and I saw little bits and pieces of it like all throughout the movie. It was so interesting. So me, a child-free little baby at the age of 27 with 2 cats, I read a parenting book for my baddies. If you told me like 3 years ago you're going to read a parenting book for a podcast episode that you're going to create, I would have been like, you need to be institutionalized. What are you talking about? But here we are, and I learned so much. Anyway, this is turning into that chaotic history lesson I gave last week. But we've been brainwashed. We have been brainwashed to think of being liked as a currency. The seeds of that are planted when we are in elementary school, and then that fuck ass tree starts to grow and have a trunk and branches when we're in middle school, around 12, 13 years old. And then the tree goes on steroids and just grows into this like mega butt crack forest when we're in high school, and all hell breaks loose. The problem is that this conditioning of us thinking that we have to be liked comes into adulthood with us. And we think that being liked is a currency, but in reality, it's a control tactic. Because the patriarchy, I sound like a wackadoodle, the patriarchy with a capital P assumes that women will always want to be liked. The system is designed to manage us through social approval. Oh no, if I act like that, if I say that, if I do this, then people are going to think I'm weird, or I'm going to be shunned from the group. I'm going to be a social pariah. When we think like that, we're playing exactly into how the system wants to keep us compliant, because we depend on that social approval. The thing we have to realize is that being liked is a form of borrowed approval. Social approval is borrowed approval. Because it's not approval that we're giving to ourselves. It's approval on somebody else's terms. And usually it's informed by an even greater system of control, which is social standards and cultural norms and values and things that we don't even have a say in as individuals. So you do something that people think is weird, and people think that that's weird because we've been taught to think of it as weird. Here's the other thing. There's a hidden reward system behind social approval. And it's invisible. So we don't actually, we're not even aware that it exists until we violate it and we get punished for it. We do something that gets us kicked out of the group, or we do something that makes us a social pariah. And what this reward system does is it leverages likability and makes us a pawn on someone else's chessboard. And that chessboard is pretty much created by the patriarchy. Because when the revolution comes, I sound like a freaking wackadoodle. But a lot of the time I'll be saying the truth and I sound so crazy doing it because it like actually sounds like a conspiracy. But this is literally how the world has been set up. But really, at the end of the day, we are being set up. So as girls, from literally the age of 8, 9, 10, we become pawns on society's chessboard. And that distracts us from the fact that the queen can move in any direction for as many spaces as she wants, whereas the king, the useless ass king, can only move one square at a time. And the whole point of the game is to capture him. So everybody's trying to maneuver around so he doesn't get caught. This is all a projection of how powerless the king is. And I came up with this analogy. I'm not even kidding. I heard the Ava Max song about all of the queens, na, 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 na. I was literally at a restaurant and I heard that song and I'm like, wait, this whole world is a chessboard. We are the queen. We have unlimited spaces. Because she says she has like some song lyric about the queen being able to move anywhere. And I was like, oh my God. And I had to take my phone out and write this in my notes like right away because I'm like, this is like, I need this for an episode. So I get ideas like at the randomest, most butt crack times. It's crazy. Anyway, the patriarchy hack. The hack is that we need to remove that desire for likability. We need to stop being guided by this nagging, annoying need to be liked all the time and to get other people's approval. And this is a huge, huge hack because it removes one of the system's most effective control levers over women. A control lever that depends on us self-policing our behavior and policing the behavior of other women. Because the patriarchy isn't only about men holding power. It's about the internalized rules that women are taught to enforce, not just on themselves, but on other women. So one of the most powerful, invisible rules is that your social survival depends on being liked. So I opened with the example of us all being 13 because that need for us to be liked by our peers and even by people who don't even know us and who we don't even know to begin with, who we don't give a rat's ass about, that need to be liked is so deeply ingrained in us that we think it's just part of the human experience. And what's crazy is that growing up, girls are actually the biggest enforcers of one another's behaviors. The system has done such a good job at making girls and women the freaking behavior police of other women that we can even remove, a lot of the time, we can remove the boys and the men from the equation, and women are still going to police each other's behaviors. As adults, we probably no longer have these very rigid cliques and social hierarchies of who sits where in the lunchroom or whatever, but we are still very much governed by the invisible force of being liked. Let's just call it the invisible force. We're very much governed by that still as adults. You might think you've outgrown it and that it's just something that the 13-year-old girls have to deal with, but no, if it was that simple and that harmonious and peaceful, then the system wouldn't be as deeply ingrained as it is. So, if one of the patriarchy hacks is to relinquish that need to be liked and to seek social approval, the other part of the hack is that once you no longer depend on likability, you're actually in a really good position to weaponize it. You know, the rules that say that we have to be liked, we have to be part of the group, we have to be popular, blah, blah, blah. Those rules only work if you agree to play for the prize, and the prize being other people's approval. But if you no longer need that likability because you like yourself and that's more than enough, then you can absolutely weaponize it when you need to. Let's go through mindset, action, and challenge. So, everything I just talked about is part of the mindset because there's a lot of unlearning that needs to be done when it comes to being liked. The other part of it is to understand why you want to be liked in the first place. Part of that, obviously, is the way that we've been conditioned and raised, but there are some deeper reasons to it. I'm going to name some of the most common reasons that women want to be liked. And like any other time on this show where I have a list, it's obviously not exhaustive or mutually exclusive. The first reason, and this is not in any specific order, first reason is that women are socialized to be self-conscious over their self-image. This is very, very common. I would say that every single woman or girl has experienced this in their life because a lot of our worth is tied to how others see us. It's especially tied to whether they find us attractive. That's why a lot of girls grow up with eating disorders and other body image related issues. And not just girls, but also adult women. Reason number two is that we're socialized to think that it's more important to maintain a relationship at all costs. And by a relationship, I mean friendship, relationship, romantic relationship, whatever it is. We're socialized to think that we need to maintain a relationship at all costs rather than realizing that how we are treated within the relationship should determine whether or not we even stay in the first place. This is especially true during adolescence when we're with people who make us feel crappy about ourselves, but we refuse to stop being friends with them because that might mean that we become loners or we lose our popularity. Reason number three is that a lot of women are brainwashed to think that if people get to know the real me, then they won't like me. That's a superstition. That's literally a superstition. And it's part of a shame-based way of controlling how we express certain parts of ourselves. How women express ambition, anger, sexual desire. We're brainwashed to think that we have to hide these things and they become part of our demons. That's why I made a whole episode on why we have to put our demons on our payroll and actually meet our demons, meet these motherfuckers, and come to terms with them and make them useful for ourselves. Reason number four is childhood trauma. A lot of women have traumatic experiences from their childhood, like abandonment or quote unquote daddy issues. And a lot of these situations make us think that we are unlovable, unlikable, and that people act badly towards us because of something that we did or because of who we are. We end up taking blame for other people's deficiencies. Reason number five is that likability is a way for us to keep ourselves safe from rejection. Rejection sucks. It hurts. And so we think that if we're likable enough and that if we get social approval from people, then we're not going to get rejected and we're protecting ourselves. And reason number six is that a lot of women have a historical or an intergenerational need for approval as a form of safety. Up until recently, and actually still currently in a lot of places in the world, a woman's physical and financial security depends on staying in the good graces of men and of the community. So, likability is actually a form of survival, safety, and protection for a lot of women. And it gets passed down through intergenerational trauma and behavior and learning from one generation of women to the next. Now, like I said before, this is not an exhaustive list, nor are these items mutually exclusive. So maybe there's a reason that I didn't mention that you have for wanting to be liked, or maybe you checked off one or two or all six of these boxes. Hopefully, not all, but you know, whatever the case is, every single one of these reasons is rooted in other people's opinion of you being more important than your opinion of yourself. And that's where a lot of the nice girl conditioning comes from. That's how a lot of us end up being people pleasers and wanting to come off as nice, agreeable girls. Because it's based on the superstition that if I am nice enough, then they'll like me. And if they like me, then I'll like myself. But here's the thing, being nice doesn't make it more likely that people are going to respect you, but it will make it easier for them to use you. And when you're driven by this need for likability and approval and coming off as being nice, you are completely relinquishing your control and your power and relying on things that are entirely outside of your control. Because whether or not someone likes you has nothing to do with you. Your face might remind them of somebody they hated from childhood, and that might be the reason why they don't like you. Does that have anything to do with you? No, but you've given an unnecessary amount of power to something that is completely and utterly outside of your control. So that is the whole mindset part of this. Moving on to the action part, there are certain things that you should do that will help you either shift your mindset or start to move away from some of these reasons that I mentioned. Obviously, the first one is to like yourself. I know it's way easier said than done, and I talk about this a lot on this show. Literally nothing that I say can even work if you don't love yourself. So that is literally the number one prerequisite for everything I talk about, and for literally any hack in your life to be successful. The love that you are seeking from other people needs to come from you. You can't ask for anyone to give you anything that you cannot give yourself. Number one is loving yourself. The next thing, and this is assuming that you got the self-love down, the next thing is to leverage likability as a weapon when you need to. The way you do this is first by identifying your goal. Once you've identified your goal, you're going to figure out whether having that person like you is going to help you in achieving that goal. This is especially useful for cases at work because a lot of things depend on people in positions of power liking you. For example, promotions are oftentimes not given to the most deserving person or the most hardworking person. They're given to the person who the boss likes, because the boss or the manager or whoever it is who's determining who's getting promoted, that person is a human being with biases and prejudices. And you can be the hardest worker at the company, but if that person does not like you, if you rub them the wrong way, or if for whatever buttcrack reason they do not like you, you better believe that you're not going to get promoted, ever. This exact thing happened to me at my corporate job as a consultant because, listen, the quality of my work was always good. Every single performance review that I had was really good. I always got great feedback, and sometimes obviously I got constructive feedback, but overall, my work was good. I worked hard, and every year my skills and my quality of work would improve. The reason I never got promoted was because I never slaved myself out for the company. I avoided working beyond 40 hours a week. I would not stay evenings working late unless I really had to. I wouldn't work on weekends. And my timesheets almost always said 40 hours every single week. And I literally got crap for that. I've mentioned this a few times before, but my boss, the woman who owned the company, pulled me aside one day and told me, "You come to work, you do your job, and you leave." Those words will never leave my mind, and verbatim, that is literally what she said verbatim. I will never forget it. And it's literally one short sentence, so obviously I'm not going to forget it. But all that to say, you can be the hardest worker in the room, you can have the best quality work, and that means diddly if the person in charge of promoting you does not like you or just doesn't like you enough. So make sure that you know when to use your likability at work as a strategy to get what you want. And the way you do that is through charm. Remember, non-sexual seduction, law number 20? That's how you get people to like you, because you basically act like a mirror for themselves. You make them feel good about themselves when they're around you. Your presence becomes intoxicating. Your presence becomes like a drug. They feel better about themselves when they are with you. And that works really, really well with men. That works well with pretty much anyone except for other charmers. So Law 20 is an episode you should probably listen to from time to time as maintenance, because that's how you leverage likability through charm. Remember, appearances are more important than reality. A lot of the time, it's not what's actually happening, it's what it looks like. What it looks like is happening. What it looks like to the observer, to the viewer, to your target. So create the appearance that's going to get you what you want. Okay, now onto the challenge. What I'm going to challenge you to do is two things. First thing is to just enjoy doing things alone. Twice a week, do something alone. Do something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe it scares you a little bit. Maybe you go out to a restaurant for lunch or dinner by yourself. Maybe you go and do something that you normally would do with another person by yourself. Just get comfortable doing things alone and enjoying doing things alone, because that's going to make you enjoy and appreciate your own presence. Because remember, the only relationship that you're guaranteed to have for the rest of your life is the relationship you have with yourself. So you better enjoy your relationship with yourself, and it better be a good, healthy, loving relationship. The other thing I challenge you to do is the next time you sense someone doesn't like you, take a step back and ask yourself, what do I have that they are lacking? Are they envious of me? Are they jealous of me? How are they projecting onto me? Because chances are they don't like you because of a projection. To be honest, with most things in life, if you look deeply enough, you're going to find some projection there, right? Like the entire patriarchy is a freaking projection of men's inferiority complex. Let's talk about some exceptions to this law. Now, there aren't a lot of exceptions here. I feel like I say that every single time. There's no exceptions. There's very few exceptions, but there really aren't that many exceptions. Just remember that there are situations where being liked can actually be used as a currency. But the key difference is that you are goal-driven and you're using likability as a tool to control an outcome rather than it being a tool that can control you. The last thing I would say is that being unconcerned with whether or not people like you is not the same as being okay with being hated. And this only applies to a very, very small subset of people who are actually hated for good cause. The example I use all the time is that really toxic, misogynistic director, female misogynist, that director I had at my consulting job, who everyone hated because she was a rotten terrible person. And honestly, at the core of it was just a woman who hated herself and projected that onto everybody else. But she treated people really badly. She literally took me to hell and back multiple times and tried to push me to quit. So when everyone dislikes a certain person, that might not necessarily be a projection of everybody who doesn't like you. That might be the actual person being hated. Like, that person is the problem. Do you know what I mean? I don't really think that this is something that concerns you baddies listening to this, because if you're listening to this, you're a bad bitch who most likely loves herself and is not projecting her insecurities onto other people. I just think it's important to make that differentiation, because you're going to come across people in your life who don't like you. But if you're in a place like your workplace where everybody dislikes you, then it's time to do a little introspection and have a little bit of accountability, if you know what I mean. Okay. So I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you so much to all you OBs, original baddies, not to be confused with obstetricians. Oh my God, this reminds me of a Golden Girl episode where Rose was like, back in St. Olaf, we had an OB-MAG, obstetrician magician, because their town obstetrician was also a magician. I don't know. This was very unrelated and irrelevant. But anyway, to all my original baddie magicians, thank you for tuning into another episode. I'm so grateful to have all of you here. If you love this episode, make sure to drop a 5-star rating. And if you want to hear some unhinged bonus episodes, then make sure to subscribe to the Patreon. Everything is in the show notes. And on the note of the Patreon, I need to give a shout out to all our Patreon subscribers. So let me get the list. Shout out to Adriana, Mina, Gemma, Priya, Katya, Irene, Naomi, Nilufar, Adelaide, Nadia, Faith, Amy, Simran, Melinda, Sophia with an M, and Sophia with a K. Thank you everybody for your support. I'm so glad we're able to build this community of bad bitches, and I can't wait for the day when this podcast becomes a household name and you baddies were the day ones. I'm so freaking excited for that day. You have no idea. Okay. Do not forget that you are the bad... Oh my God, my voice cracked. Don't forget that you are the baddest bitch in any building that you step foot in. Until next time, stay bad. Love you. Bye.